still cannot believe that RICEBOX is sitting next to the Supra. It's finally home. I've got two of my favorite cars on the planet together in my shop, and I am ready to get freaking down to business on this girl. I just cannot freaking wait to have it going. So there is a lot of stuff that we have to get doing, a lot of stuff we got to get done. I'm gonna have to take my exhaust back off here, and I need to get the masking tape off. Everything that was used to protect the ports, you need to do it on the intake side as well. We got to mount my fuel rail, mount my injectors, get the fuel system set up, get the vvti line ran. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to take off these clamps, get everything well lubricated on the inside. I'm probably gonna lather grease on there or some sort of like Vicks or something, so that way the O-rings. See, I can't even turn that thing with one hand anymore. There's some resistance there, but we'll figure it out. Right now I don't think there's, oh, I guess there's still movement, so that's good. Let's flex. So the dash harness that I pulled out, the fuse box used to be located underneath my exhaust over here on this side. So my fuse box used to be down in here when it was all factory. So when I had all the factory paneling and everything in here, before everything was cut, I had my fuse box relocated under there. Obviously that is not gonna work, just will not work, period. It would catch on fire and that'd be a really bad deal. So I'm left to, gonna have to plug in underneath the dash over on the passenger or on the driver's side. I'm gonna have to run it over to the glove box essentially. I'm gonna have to rewire everything, get up, and I need to get my lights and everything functioning, and I will have my radiator fans and everything else running from this. A lot of stuff I can delete from this, so this thing will be basically really naked when I'm done, but we will work with it as we go. I'm gonna have to figure out where everything goes and start from scratch there. So I know you guys can't smell at the moment. When Merle was putting in the cage, I'll show you actually. Right here on this plate, you guys can see my sheet metal screws, which sadly I put them in to hold my fuel lines up way back in the day whenever I put my fuel lines in and did my fuel system. Now, I should have done it a different way, but I luckily did it that way. Merle decided to check under the car whenever he was welding in this plate to make sure everything was okay. And in fact, there was actually a fire right there on the sheet metal screws, and there was a fire on my fuel line, and all that heat and everything actually melted my fuel tank. So the S14s, if you guys don't know, have some kind of composite plastic, a really hard plastic fuel tank. I don't know how many other cars have it like that. Most of them are metal, but the heat and everything melted it, and I have to get a new fuel tank, so I ordered a fuel cell, which should be here pretty soon. Basically, if I get a fuel cell, I can finish the car will run. But I have to undo everything. I won't have an in-tank pump anymore. I will have a gravity-fed fuel cell. It'll be a 15-gallon cell that will fit here, and I will have my fuel pumps and everything pulling from the bottom of the cell. So I will have all this gone, and I might end up moving this to the Supra. It just really depends. Essentially, the Supra is going to get everything that is left over and hand me down from the 240. Because of the hole in the fuel tank, I'm going to have to jack up the rear end, drop the subframe, pull the tank out, and that will benefit a lot. There will be a lot less weight in the, the back 3/4 section of the car. So my fuel cell will be on the back side of the car, so I will have more weight on the wheels to get traction on the track. So I will also have a lot more room up above the subframe, so I will be able to run all my lines and my cables for my battery. Everything should be pretty straightforward. I'm gonna have to redo my battery box because apparently they don't like ratchet straps. I don't know why. It's not like it's gonna fall out or anything. The battery box is bolted down, but I didn't want the battery moving around, so I used a ratchet strap, but it's whatever. They don't want it, I'll change it. So my fuel system is gonna change once again. It's gonna be a fuel system 3.0, but I literally cannot believe it. This video is gonna be a little bit longer than normal, but you know what? Since the car's finally home, this is the car that pushes the channel. It's going to be hopefully a turning point at this moment. If you guys are here up to this point and you're new, this and you know, my thumbnail maybe intrigued you, stop for a moment, go down, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell icon so you stay up to date with all my uploads. I upload all the freaking time. I've got like 260 videos, and I've been uploading for the last 5 years. So I've been doing this for a while, and I try to keep it interesting. Obviously, this is a stock bottom end car, and I got a giant turbo, G42-1450. I'm going to keep a low end timing low, and I'm going to pull timing in pretty hard up top. So I'm going to try to pull close to 1,000 wheel horsepower with lower torque. So I'm just going to be going for some fun numbers. If for whatever reason, if it fails, which I don't think it will, there's no reason why it should. The old engine blew up because a rod bolt failed, and actually, since I have everything here finally, just go ahead and show that to you guys real quick here. So here's a rod bolt. You can see where it's stretched and basically pinched itself off. So rod bolt failed. I can tell you that the bearings were still fine because this thing is still freaking thick, and there is no copper showing other than the copper that is showing from it being beat off the concrete. And the rod snapped because it got shoved through the block. So yeah, piston didn't fail. All the rings are still there. It was still shoved. It was on the top of the cylinder, shoved up against the head. So that rod and everything went in every single direction. It blew through the oil pan, blew through both sides of the block, and the piston hit the head. So yeah, I've got to have that head surfaced, which it'll still be good. I am going to take a moment and figure out what I want to start doing first, and then I will get back to you. This is quite a bit to take on at the moment. I've had the car for a year, so I'm trying to like figure out exactly what I want to do at the moment. Like, there's just so much I want to jump into, but it's on all four corners of the car. There's so many things that I need to do. So I'm gonna sit back for a second, and I'll get back with you here in a moment. Ended up going inside. It is now the next morning, and I have decided that we're just going to go ahead and drop the fuel tank for the start of this. That way I can get the biggest project out of the way. Everything else is pretty straightforward, and I can do while the car's on the ground, so not that big of a deal. So I'm going to get my wheels off, get the car jacked up, get it up on jack stands high enough to where I can lower my subframe down. Should be pretty straightforward. My drive shaft isn't hooked up right now, so it should come right out. No problems at all. I'm going to disconnect my fuel lines from there, and we should be pretty freaking straightforward. Alright, well, that took me probably about 15 minutes. I definitely say that I pretty much know my car really well still. It's been a year. Now it's time to drop that fuel tank, check out the damage that Merle did to it, because he's want to see it too. I'm really curious. That really pushed me into getting a fuel cell, so that's a big positive there. It's more safe that way, especially being that it'd be in the car. It'd be a lot better to keep the things, or keep the fire contained, you know. So I'm gonna have a firewall put up in the trunk area to keep the fire from going into the cabin. But hell yeah, let me get up under there, pull this fuel tank out, and get this subframe back in. But actually, this thing's pretty dirty, so I'm gonna go pressure wash it real quick, and then I'll get it back in that way. Alright, so she's still got about a half a tank in it, I'd say, give or take. Guessing that it was just the heat from the plate that he was welding in that caused this to melt. But regardless, this thing's freaking heavy, and I mean, minus the fuel and stuff, it's pretty heavy, and I think it's a great thing to delete. There's a lot of extra stuff on here that I didn't need anymore anyway. Alright, so subframe's back in. There is so much room in here now. As you can see, I can basically access the subframe through the hold port for the fuel pump. So I have a lot more room for working in here. It's so much better. It's crazy. But overall, it took me about 15 minutes to drop it, and actually, it only took me like 5 minutes to put back in. So that was pretty quick, and I was really surprised. Here it is, FID 2000s. My intake is ready. Nice and freaking short injector space there, so when it's on the car, it's going to be very, very short. So I'm going to have it set up to where my injectors are ran up underneath the runners, so they'll be plugged in, and the only thing you'll be able to see is the gray connector. Other than that, it's going to be completely tucked. Hope you guys enjoyed the freaking long time lapse. I guess I really don't know how long it is, but so got the masking tape and everything pulled off, and this is completely bolted down now. And over here, you guys can see my wiring harness is actually ran. If you guys know at all, the typical wiring harness on a 2JZ normally runs across the backside of the timing belt, and then there's normally some sensors and stuff over here if there's a GTE, and then the crank sensor and alternator. Well, in this setup, since it's a GE setup, the temp sensors and stuff are over on this side, which really hides the harness. And I'm able to run, since they're on this side, the only thing that's on top of the engine that needs to really be plugged in is my vvti, which is going to be hidden regardless whenever it's all plugged in and everything. So because these are so much lower, I'm able to run the longest part of my harness down low. My crank sensor and my alternator are both plugged in, and they run under the engine. This is going to be like one of my most tucked engine bays ever. It's going to be freaking amazing. So I got my O2 sensors hooked up. Well, they're threaded in and tightened, not hooked up completely yet, but this is all you guys are going to see of my harness, basically. This thing is going to be crazy. This is just nuts. I didn't really do a full little preview of my cage yet, but Merle really outdone himself. This isn't freaking wild. It's my first full caged car, and it's beautiful. So he can weld, which is great. Very happy for it. But let me throw this intake on there. I can't wait to freaking get this fuel system and everything ran. It's gonna be great. Here's a comparison of how big my turbo is to my baby. Ophelia. Ophelia! Alright guys, so I got the harness plugged in. Look at this, it's freaking insane. It's basically like non-existent. It's like it has always looked, but the harness is plugged in. Like you can, I got to do some braided line on this right here. So I'll have the split braided loom on here to make it like basically invisible. But everything is plugged in right now. The car will literally run if I had fuel. It would run. Like it's all plugged in. That is crazy. It's like basically, I don't even know. That's insane. So the only thing that you can really see is the TPS, which I will have hidden, and the vvti sensor. That's the highest sensor in the engine. So, and my cam sensor's back there. And you can tell my injectors are plugged in if you're really looking, but it's pretty dang good. All right, guys, it's getting later in the day, and just kind of want to relax now. I feel like I've made fantastic progress with the car today, and we are going to be hammering down on it every day from now on. When my fuel cell gets here, then that will be game on, because that's what I need in order for the car to run. But next thing we're going to tackle is this harness here. I'm going to get it all tore down and figure out what I don't need and what I do need, and trying to split the wiring between the dash to run both sides of the fender, so that way my wiring will be hidden and the only thing that I'll have are just my lights and the radiator fan. But other than that, that's freaking it. That's it. But that's gonna be it for this video, guys. If you guys like it, drop a like, subscribe if you're new. I mean, this is freaking crazy. Finally got the car at home, got the Supra, about to go just cruise the Supra around for a little bit. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this video, guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.